are they asking for an inspection? What's the inspection period? There's just so many things that go into it. So basically, I would say it's so important to sit down with your realtor and just listen to them and take their advice on I guess the path of least resistance really.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Hello, you. Welcome back to the Closing Table. I am your host. I go by the name of Kevin C. McIntosh. And joining us on this episode, we will be picking the brain of real estate agent Brendon Clarke. How you doing, Brendon?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you, man. Another day, another episode. Happy to be here. And we are here also, like we said, to talk business with you. But let's have some fun, man. A quick icebreaker I got for you, Brendon, is called Fill in the Blank. Exactly what it sounds like. I got a couple sentences related to real estate. And I just need you to, fill in these blanks with, the appropriate information and make the sentence make sense. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. First one. I'm interested to see what you say on this. Toledo is best known for blank.
Food.
Okay.
Well, for me anyway.
Blank is the most important factor when purchasing a home.
Patience.
Get it? If you're selling your home, blank would give you an advantage.
A good realtor.
Good answer. Lastly, supporting your local businesses is essential because blank.
It helps where you live thrive.
That is a fact. That is a fact. Thank you, Brendon. Starting things off a little bit fun and loose for us. So what I like to do is take time right now. If you can, in 60 seconds or less, Brendon, tell us, who is Brendon Clarke outside of real estate?
Oh, it's everyone's favorite question. I obviously love real estate. So even when I'm, not working, I'm, always thinking about real estate, maybe talking about it to a fault. But outside of that, I really just enjoy hanging out with friends, trying local places, coffee shops, restaurants. If I can support local, then I try and do that. So it's always fun. I also play piano and guitar a little bit on the side, and I am really into cars. So that's me.
There it is. A nice creative, your piano and guitar. I love that, man. Musically inclined. All right, let's get into it, man. Your current market right now, we already spoke about it, Toledo, Ohio. But why don't you give us a little bit more insight describing your current market economically? Let's talk like average pricing, square footage, time on the market. Let's get into it.
Sure. So for April, since May hasn't quite finished out, I was just looking up some stats earlier this morning. So for 2023, we're at about 165,000 average sale price for Northwest Ohio, and then last year we're at 160,000. So we're at a slight increase there. Our average price per square foot is $114 per square foot. And our average days on the market right now is 44 days. Last year, around this time, was 47. So 3-day difference. So, yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. That says a lot. I was almost sure it would have probably increased a little bit since then.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because as I was looking, pulling some stats, I was kind of expecting that as well. But I mean, it's close enough where it's about the same. So.
Yeah. It's not too big of a dramatic decrease. So, okay, hanging around there.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, you're currently working with a brokerage. You're not just doing it on your own. So can we take some time to talk about your brokerage? You said your brokerage is fairly new in your market too, right?
Yes.
How does your brokerage plan to stand out in this competitive market?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're with Keller Williams Citywide. So we're currently incubating out of an office out in Westlake, Ohio. So until we can get some certain things accomplished, checked off of our list, we can't 100% launch in the way that we want to quite yet, but we're essentially Keller Williams Citywide out of the Westlake office. So once we get more momentum, we'll really be able to make some awesome things happen. So Keller Williams is a nationally recognized brokerage. A lot of people probably have heard of Keller Williams, not in Toledo, but
Mm-hmm.
if you look pretty much anywhere else besides Toledo, you'll see or hear of a Keller Williams. So we're really excited to be um, making our way into the Toledo market. So I'm really excited about some things happening. We're going to be having an office in Maumee opening here soon. So you have to come check it out. But yeah, so that's where I'm at, Keller Williams Citywide.
Nice, nice, nice. So what are your personal long term goals for the brokerage, and also for yourself being a part of this brokerage?
Yeah, so I think the really cool thing about Keller Williams is that there's just so many opportunities within real estate that you can account like things that you maybe have not even thought of yet, and things that I haven't even thought of yet. So I'm really just interested in being more involved in a lot of different ways. And I know it sounds kind of big, but just from what I hear, there's a lot of opportunities to grow, and that's just what I'm all about, is growing and just being around people who motivate me to want to grow and do better. So
There you go. Good, good, good. That's exactly what you need, man. That
mhm.
type of environment to be around. I like the flexibility, and that's the thing with being a real estate agent. You have a lot of flexibility, not only with your schedule, but like where you can be also.
Mhm.
So if you have the opportunity to be in an environment to with great minds, people that are pushing ideas back and forth, and you can get more information from each other, that's always a good thing. It's the same thing like being here, like you may have the option to probably work from home, but when you're in the environment that's actually bringing out that great
Yep.
cohesive thoughts and things like that, yeah, it works magic for your productivity. So it's
Hmm.
great to hear you speak on that, Brendon. Getting into the nitty gritty, more specifically, being a representation, being the agent for the seller, I should say. Excuse me. That is one of the most common, I guess, aspects of real estate. Can you speak a little bit on this in regards to like the offers that a seller may receive, especially in a seller's market? You're
Hmm.
going to receive multiple offers for wherever you're listening. Can you talk about how you evaluate these offers and help make that final decision for a seller?
Sure. So one of the big things, obviously, is purchase price. So
Yeah. Yeah.
makes a huge difference. Other things too, like financing contingencies. So, are they purchasing home with cash? Is it going to be a conventional loan, an FHA loan?
Mm,
So, like the advantage with cash is you typically can close more quickly, and then you don't have
right.
to worry about dealing with underwriting and things like that. So it's um, pretty quick transaction. With conventional, usually pretty smooth. FHA, you have to worry about some FHA related repairs possibly,
Hmm.
and some other things along with that. If it is being financed, then who's the lender? Are they reputable? Are they local? So there's just so many things
Right.
that can go into it. Just with even financing. But additionally, are they asking for an inspection? What's the inspection period? There's just so many things that go into it. So basically, I would say you're just really, it's so important to sit down with your realtor and just listen to them and take their advice on I guess the path of least resistance, really.
Right, right, right. No, I get it. I mean, ultimately, like you said, yeah, you want to listen to your real estate agent, at least consider the recommendations that they may make,
Hmm.
but ultimately we know it is the
Yeah,
seller's and or the buyer's ultimate decision in a
absolutely.
lot of these cases. So I mean, you could have a situation where, I mean, yeah, the price obviously is a main factor, but you do have situations where a seller may, hey, I just want to get out of here quick. I don't want to wait for an appraisal. I don't want to wait for an inspection and
Mm.
things like that. So we're going to go to the highest price with the waive the inspection or waive the
Hmm.
appraisal type thing, and
Yeah.
that's a very risky situation. Let me just ask you, from being a representation of the seller, would you ever like recommend that? Like, hey, yeah, let's take this offer that's waiving the inspection. Even though, I mean, you don't represent the buyer, but it is rather like a bad side for the buyer.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you represent your client's best interest. So if I'm representing my
Yeah.
seller, I mean, if that's in their best interest, then that's what I'm going to recommend. And whether they take that or not is totally up
Ooh.
to them.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really just what it boils down to. But
Yeah.
yeah, as long as you have your seller or your buyer, whoever you're representing, their best interest top of mind, then
Yeah.
then you're on a good path. So.
No, I get it. I get it. A whole nother aspect to maintaining a home is like record keeping,
Mhm.
documentation, and things like that. I think that's overlooked a lot. Can you explain and talk about why record keeping is essential for homeowners and what type of documents and transactions should be documented?
Yeah, so it's really good for just general repairs, maintenance, even upgrades to keep track of what you put into the home.
Hmm.
So just to give you an example, I bought my house in 2019, and then in 20 beginning of 2021, I refinanced, and so it needed to get appraised. And so I kept a pretty good record of things that we had done just in that short time, just to
Hmm.
show the money, the time that we put into the home, and then we can give that to the appraiser to say, hey, look, we did XYZ. We really believe the house is worth X, because that would be more advantageous for us if the house is worth more, obviously. So that's, I guess, a
Hmm.
real life example of why it's good to keep good records of everything.
Right. That's interesting
Hmm.
because I guess I would think that someone like an appraiser would almost be going straight off face value, like just kind of just looking at things, maybe touching things a little bit just to kind of assess, and obviously using comps and things of that nature. But I guess, I mean, it would make sense, right? If you do have that paperwork, which I'm assuming is not required,
Hmm.
is it?
Nope, nope.
It's not
Just trying to
required.
make
So
their job
good.
easier. Yeah, and trying to
Right.
help myself. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it definitely makes sense. Yeah, keeping
Hmm.
that type of paperwork, especially for the improvements and the repairs that you made,
Absolutely.
could that puts a little bit more strength behind whatever you're trying to improve. So
Hmm.
that's what's up. That's good to know. What are some practical steps homeowners can take to minimize their tax liability whenever they are selling their property?
So I would say try and occupy the home for at least 2 years. That we can avoid capital gains tax. So that's a pretty big one. Other than that, I guess
Mm,
I'm not too sure. That's a big one that stands out to me. So just as long as you occupy
wow.
the home for at least 2 years, yeah.
And now, does that depend on the type of loan that you get that for that minimum of 2 years, or is that just like a general
It's
standardized
my
kind of rule?
Yeah, it's my knowledge. It's just a general rule. So yeah. Hmm.
Interesting, interesting. That's
Yeah.
something I don't think we necessarily discuss here on the closing table. Getting it back into the record keeping and documentation thing. How do you think proper documentation and record keeping can assist homeowners and leveraging improvement costs to increase their property tax basis?
So proper, documentation, record keeping can definitely help by just providing evidence of like cost of improvements, pretty much same as what I kind of said before. But that can add to the purchase price of a home, which can determine the property's adjusted basis. So you can kind of add that in.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. I feel like I pretty much know the answer to this next question, but I'm just gonna pick your brain and see where your perspective is. Are there any specific maintenance tasks that hold more significance in preserving the home's condition and value?
I would just say general maintenance items. So your typical HVAC, checkups, tune-ups,
Right.
things like that. Clean your
Right. Right.
gutters. Make sure your siding or your brick or the exterior of your house looks really good. Try and keep your basement dry if you have a leaky basement. Just general things. So
Right.
it definitely is obviously specific to the home. Like if you're experiencing maybe like a certain kind of issue, say your basement leaks pretty often, maybe take some steps into making sure you can mitigate that as much as possible if you know that's an issue. So
Hmm.
just try and keep it up as much as you can. So because a lot of times when you go to sell the property, not always, but certain things can definitely show if they're not being maintained. So.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And then that kind of goes into the whole, you know, the seller, is it the seller's disclosure that I'm talking about, where the seller has to pretty much,
Mhm.
to their honest ability, put down any and everything that they've experienced
Yep.
kind of wrong with the home. And with that being said, I mean, being honest and putting all of that type of information down, and also having all the maintenance records and documentation kind of shows if something happened, if you attempted to fix it, if it was fixed, if it
Yep.
could potentially be a long-term issue, and that type of thing. So
Mhm.
all of that all kind of ties in together. Now that I'm actually kind
Yeah,
of realizing this actually as I'm
connecting
saying
the
it. So
pieces. Yeah,
it's good for you to connect those dots
yeah,
for us, Brendan. We appreciate it.
absolutely.
Moving into the sad side, the
Uh-oh.
unfortunate side of real estate. We don't like to have it happen to us, but foreclosures and forbearance is a real thing. The thing about both of those is I don't know what the difference is. Maybe our audience does. I don't know. But this is when I need you to help us. Brendon, can you please tell us what is the process of foreclosure? And shortly after that, tell us what forbearance is and what the difference is.
Sure. So foreclosure is when a borrower fails to make payments on their mortgage after usually a few months. So they'll normally post a notice. The lender, the bank, will post a notice of default, at the property. Let the buyer know, or not. Pardon me, not the buyer, the borrower know that they're
Mhm.
defaulting. And then if they don't make their payments, then they'll sell the property by means of an auction. So yeah, definitely
Mm.
sad. You definitely preface
Yeah.
that well.
Yeah.
Now, forbearance is essentially an agreement between the lender or the bank and the borrower, where you can either make up a payment plan if you're in financial distress, or you can temporarily suspend your payments. So I know during
Mm.
COVID that was actually pretty popular, or not popular,
Got
common,
you.
I guess would be the more appropriate term. But
Right.
yeah, so it's typically an agreement, that's yeah, organized between the borrower and the lender. Um, and usually those payments are due at the end of the loan or in some sort of payment plan, just whatever's agreed upon between the lender and the borrower. So,
So it's pretty much what I thought. Both of them are situations where you probably are in a situation where you can't necessarily take care of your home financially. So these
mhm,
are two different, I mean, end results of it, right? One of them sounds like foreclosure. Ultimately, it's you losing your home.
mhm.
You know, you can't make the payments. And you said after just a few months
Yeah, sometimes it only takes a
of
few months. Yeah, yeah.
right, right,
If they want
right.
their
Oh
money.
wow, yeah. Yeah, so
So,
then you ultimately lose your home.
mhm.
Now, you don't get any of that equity back. How does that work?
No, to my knowledge, no. I mean, it goes at auction, and they sell it for, I guess, whatever price they can get. I'm not too familiar with
Right.
foreclosures, but from what I know, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you're kind of just in a bad situation.
Got you. Got you. And then the forbearance is ultimately you pretty much working out a deal with your lender. So is it common for most situations to go into forbearance first and then potentially head into foreclosure? Or is it like an either or type situation?
To my knowledge, it's an either or. So like you as the borrower,
Mm,
you can't just let things go. The bank likely is not going to ask you, hey, or knock knock, do you wanna work out a plan? They're probably not going to do that.
right,
So
right.
you as the borrower, you got to make some moves. So I mean, if
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
avoid either, obviously that's preferred. But I mean, definitely, forbearance is, I guess, the lesser of two evils. But
Mm.
definitely be careful and make sure you know what you're doing when you're in forbearance with your mortgage, because some lenders may have clauses that say like, okay, you're in forbearance for X amount of months, but all of that from those last few months is all due on this date, like no exceptions. You
Ooh.
may be able to work out. It just depends. So definitely,
Right,
read the
right,
fine
right.
print, or yeah, just make sure you're well informed for sure.
Sure thing. Sure thing. Hey, Brendan, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned earlier that you are currently a homeowner.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, great to know. That leads me into my next question. With that being said, if you were starting over, you didn't have a home, and you know what you know now using today's resources, what approach would you take to own a home?
That's a good question. I mean, it all comes down to just finding a good realtor to help you through
Mm,
it, who's really knowledgeable. I think you just really have to trust them, and lean on them for guidance. Really, I mean, I guess that's what I would do. And I mean, I definitely did that. When I bought my house, I relied on my realtor a lot, because I didn't really know what in the world I was doing. I mean, I had a general idea.
there it is. There it is. Thank you again, Brendan, taking time out of your day. Be with us, be a guest on the closing table. We appreciate that. For our YouTube audience watching right now, if you got to this point in the episode, it is your time, your shining moment. Please hit that thumb aka the like button. Make sure you also share this content also and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Brendon and I always leave our audience with a question before we leave. Hey, audience, as a homeowner, how often do you maintain your property? And what is the most frequent task that you do for maintenance? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. But besides that, we'll talk to you later.